Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol, and once in a generation, there's an actor that defines cinema for the age. Marlon Brando, Laurence Olivier, David Duchovny. Maybe not that one, but you want to know who else doesn't go on the list of actors that didn't get to define a generation? Henry Cavill. But that's not his fault. The dude gets railed every chance he gets for any sort of major film or TV role. I mean, look what happened with The Witcher, with what happened with Superman. We can only hope that the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Affairs has any sort of box office return, since it's not exactly the most crowd-pleasing title out there. And Warhammer, well, if Amazon lets him do his own thing, does have potential. But the reason I bring up Henry Cavill is because there's a viral video going around that I think would be very interesting to show you guys about him being, let's just say annoyed, that's how the article phrases it, with Witcher showrunner Lauren Hisrich, and it could give us some clues as to what happened between the two and why he was unceremoniously kicked off the show. Yes, he left the show, and technically he did do that of his own volition, but it was really him getting kicked off the show when you want to boil down to it, because he wouldn't be playing the Witcher, he wouldn't be playing Geralt as we know him. Let's take a look at this. Video showing why Henry Cavill left The Witcher goes viral. Henry Cavill left The Witcher over creative differences with showrunner Lauren Hisrich. They say creative differences, but let's call it what it is. He left the show because she refused to go with the source material because she wanted to push certain politics and agendas and shove the main character of the Witcher franchise to the wayside in lieu of what can only be described as third wave feminism. But that being said, I'm not usually the type of individual that, just hates on that stuff for the sake of hating it. But it's pretty obvious that's what happened in this instance, and we should probably call that out. Let's continue. Over the last several months, since Henry Cavill stepped down from his long-running role on The Witcher, fans have been wondering how things jumped so far off the track so quickly. A very back-and-forth situation. The blame has been placed on both the show's leading actor as well as its showrunner, Lauren Hisrich. There's sorta some truth there. It's been blamed on Henry Cavill, but it's only been blamed on Henry Cavill in the media. Well, let me tell you guys, I practically live on Twitter. Is it healthy? No, not at all, but I just can't get away from it. But I'm not seeing a single individual that isn't some part of the media, the news, Access Hollywood, that has put the blame on Henry Cavill. All the fans, all the regular people out there like you and me, we've not put the blame on Henry Cavill, or if we have, it's been in a very positive way. Like, yeah, dude should have left the show if they're not going to respect the source material, and he does. He's being the bigger man, he's doing what's right, and not force-feeding crap down fans' throats. That being said, the Access media, they are all about throwing Henry Cavill under the bus, making sure that he's been slandered, and propping up Lauren Hisrich. The majority of belief falling on the idea that Cavill was such a die-hard fan of the video game turned series, and here's how we know that Giant Freaking Robot didn't do any of their research. It's a book turned video game and book turned series. The series was based more off the books than it was the games, from my understanding, but anyway. He departed after finding out the show would deviate from the original storyline. In a recently shared Twitter video, which you can see below, this theory definitely seems to be the case, as a very annoyed-looking Cavill sits in silence while Hisrich explains what the writers were going for when they first planned to pair the devastating death of Roach with some light-hearted comedy. That's what we want in all of our media, where a hero character dies or where a fan-favorite character dies. We want it to be undercut with comedy. We want to laugh at the character we've fallen in love with's death. I mean, that's such a Marvel thing to do. It is very clear they're taking their cues from, these Marvel movies make $1 billion and they have jokes all the time, even when characters die. Maybe we should do the same thing. It doesn't matter if it does not fall in line with what the source material does or the tone of the show. So let's actually watch this clip.
The Witcher isn't just about the important special people in the world, it's about everyone else as well. When you look at how real people deal with difficult situations, it's with and we play into that as difficult situations.
Hisrich admits that when she first wrote Roach's death scene, her instinct was to puncture the moment with a bit of meta-comedy. Alright?
It's with humor, and we play into that as much as we can.
Do not attach any association of this to me whatsoever. I have nothing to do with such idiocy, such blasphemy, such ridiculous...
Oh, he looks like he is just holding back. He's like, alright, can't cut her off, can't jump in and interrupt her because that's just not going to look good for me. I mean, Henry Cavill, if anything, he knows how to play the Hollywood game, so we got to give him credit there. But yeah, when they said in this clip that he looked annoyed, I hadn't seen this yet. This is my first time seeing it just like you guys, but they weren't wrong. I could see this is going to be one of those Dragon Ball Z moments, because I feel like we could see some forehead veins popping. Homeboy's about to go Super Saiyan on this woman.
Nonsense. This is so disrespectful.
And Henry, what was like...
Yeah, oh, okay then. that look he gave there at the end. Have you ever been lost in the desert for days on end and parched, and someone approaches you and they're like, hey, how you doing? And you try to open your mouth to speak, but you can't say anything because not even the saliva, all that in your mouth has evaporated? You probably haven't been in that situation, but if you were, I imagine that's the sort of mouth movement you would make. You would open it, but nothing would really come out. The Witcher showrunner Lauren Hissrich found Henry Cavill really annoying due to his overenthusiasm to play Geralt. Yes, I covered this in a short a while ago. Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich explains the writer's thought behind the traumatic Season 2 death that shook the fandom to its core, saying that her first pass at pinning the horse's death was to give a meta-comedy angle, explaining the humanity behind this initial decision. She said that the humans handled these types of heartbreaking moments with humor. Now, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little personal thing about my history, about my backstory. A text message I received this morning. I couldn't be covering this at a better time. My father texted me this morning. He's been texting me off and on the last several days because our family dog is going through what all dogs eventually go through. They get old. They eventually have to be put down. They have to pass or whatnot. My father's dog died this morning. Rest her soul. People respond to pet deaths pretty negatively. They don't usually undercut them with humor. And it doesn't even need to be a pet. Again, whether it's a heroic character, a character you love, animals in movies and shows like these are still characters. Even inanimate objects can be characters. I mean, the impala in Supernatural is a character. So, yes, these sort of deaths need to be handled with care and respect to the character, even if the character is an animal. The idea that they want to undercut that with humor is just mind-boggling to me. Did you ever see the Netflix documentary, Don't Fuck With Cats? Humans take animal death worse than human death when it comes to being portrayed, even in real life or media. There's a reason that the Futurama episode Jurassic Bark is known as the saddest episode of the show. We've got episodes that focus on his mom, his dad, how they handle Fry being frozen and his young life, but the one that people jump to is the episode with the dog. And you want to undercut a horse's death with humor. That is mind-boggling. Now, it does say that humans handle these types of heartbreaking moments with humor, and some people do. Some people, humor is their coping mechanism. Going back to my father's dog, yesterday when he texted me saying that she was going to be, put to sleep, I made some semblance of a joke, because I've always made the joke that she looks like an Ewok. My dad's dog looked like an Ewok, and so I sent him a heartfelt text message of I'm sorry, she was a great dog, and I said a comforting sort of, not even really a joke, more of something that would hopefully make smile. I said, well, she had a good 14-year run, and considering she looked like an Ewok, she lasted longer than some of them at the Battle of Endor. I wasn't saying that to be cruel, or not that they were trying to be cruel in the show here, but I wasn't saying that to make a joke. I wasn't making fun of the dog. It was more of a heartfelt, I've known this dog for 14 years, I've always made this joke about her looking like an Ewok. It's probably going to be the last sort of time I can do it. It is humor, but I have a feeling that's not what The Witcher was going for, what Lauren Hissrich was going for when they say they were going to undercut the emotional death with humor. It doesn't sit well with me, because you can say something that would be humorous in still a very heartfelt fashion that is not funny at that time, much like what I did yesterday in the text of my father. So, just throwing that one out there, we can keep going. Something that she thought would play well on the goodbye scene between Geralt and his beloved steed. As we know, thanks to Polygon interview with Hissrich, Henry Cavill was so unhappy with the way this scene was initially scripted that he pushed to have it changed. And thank God he did, because can you imagine the backlash that people would get from making jokes about a dead animal? I very rarely think that Twitter throwing a fit is, worth anything over. Usually they're throwing a fit about really dumb stuff. But I can pretty much see it if people on the internet were upset about them making jokes about a dead animal in a TV show they love. While he may look unhappy in the interview, Henry Cavill indeed had the final say in the way the audience bid adieu to good old Roach. Using a touching moment from the original game to base his speech on, Cavill revealed that he framed his eulogy around a moment between the death and Geralt, in which the two are conversing about at the end being a walk across a meadow and through the mist. Translating this to on-screen production, Cavill said that he wanted to make sure this bit of Geralt's personality made it into the Netflix series. Yeah, because at this point, what of Geralt's personality have we seen? The show only ever let him say, and fuck. We never actually got him to have a personality. Through no fault to Cavill, it was all the writing. It was very evident in Season 2 that he was very much pushing for the actual character of Geralt to come through on screen. which in turn helped him mold his final poetic words to Roach. The buzz surrounding Henry Cavill's audition process for The Witcher is one of the most dedicated campaigns in history, with the actor admitting that he was annoying for both his own team as well as for Schmidt-Hissrich. Why do they keep calling her Schmidt-Hissrich? That's Lauren Hissrich. That's what we all know her as. Not even having the series completely fleshed out when Cavill began his bid for the leading role, it would be a long time and many auditions later before the Man of Steel star would be handed the part. While he proved to be up to the task, Cavill's true dedication to the story is what would ultimately lead him to exit the series, with Liam Hemsworth stepping in for the show's upcoming 4th season. And that's how we know the 4th season is going to be awful, because you have an actor in the lead role who's not going to push back. You know that news that popped up about Jenna Ortega a few days ago, about how she is effectively the sole reason that Wednesday was successful? They were calling her toxic because she, demanded so many rewrites. She did things that weren't in the script because she was doing what the character would do. She wasn't method acting. She was just reading the script and being like, why was it written like this? This isn't something Wednesday would do. And guess what? Wednesday became an amazing success on Netflix, effectively all because of Jenna Ortega staunchly respecting the source material. I have as much respect for her in that reason, for that light, as I do for Henry Cavill, and I don't think Liam Hemsworth is up to the task. He's going to just sit there and let the writers, producers, everyone do whatever they want, and he's just going to bow and nod and scrape so that he can get his paycheck as opposed to respecting the source material, and I can guarantee you, fans aren't going to show up for it. They're going to quit watching halfway through, give it 2 years, we're going to start seeing articles about how The Witcher has fallen off. It was a rough year for Henry Cavill as he stuck to his guns and stepped away from The Witcher. He came to find out he wouldn't be reprising his role as Superman after all, something that seemed like a set deal. And I'm not even going to get started on that because I think I've said my piece in that in many videos and shorts, but you guys, I'm not gonna go see a Superman movie without Henry Cavill. I'll be honest. Aside from Christopher Reeve, he is Superman. He is the greatest Superman. It's Christopher Reeve, Henry Cavill, and Dean Cain, and that's it. No one else needs Superman. After DC Studios was taken over by Peter Safran and James Gunn, the duo announced they'd be moving in a completely different direction and scrapped the multiple setups put forth in films like Black Adam. As for his upcoming projects, audiences can expect to spot Cavill in the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and the ever-elusive Argyle. And earlier in the video, I believe I said the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Affairs. I meant Warfare, my bad. I, for one, can't wait for this movie. I said it's not going to do well at the box office, but that's just because these sort of films, they're no MCU, they're no Jaws, but then again, people are finally getting tired of the MCU. They're not making bank anymore anyway, so I could be surprised. Maybe many people will go see this movie. I hope so. I'm going to be there day one just to support Henry Cavill and because it does genuinely sound like a good film. But there you have it. That's the video that is making the rounds on Twitter and on the internet right now, going viral about Henry Cavill basically screaming internally at all the garbage that Lauren Hissrich is saying, and basically, stating that she is ruining the show. And we need to appreciate individuals like Jenna Ortega and Henry Cavill more, people that actually fight for what fans want. Because when they take famous IPs and they make movies or TV shows out of them, whether it be video games, whether it be books, whatnot, there has to be a respect for the source material. And we get less and less of that as the years go on. For all of Harry Potter's faults, I'm not exactly a big Harry Potter guy, but for all Harry Potter's faults, it stuck very close to the source material. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, very close to the source material. Obviously, there are times when concessions have to be made when adapting things, and I understand, not everything is going to be perfect, but to outright change it to suit your own needs just because you think your version is better is the ultimate level of arrogance and hubris that I can't even acknowledge, and it's also not what fans want. How do you expect to make money when you're not giving the people what they want? The people, the audience, they're the paying customer. It's that simple. Thankfully, people like Jenna Ortega and Henry Cavill seem to understand this and are willing to actually fight to get it done right, even if it does mean that they are treated like crap in Hollywood, which has happened to both of them as of late. But that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below, or you can let me know on Twitter, where you can find me at BulkTheWord. Please do subscribe to the channel. I just hit the over 600 subscriber mark. I can't believe we made it this far. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. I can't even explain. Let's keep getting that number up there, and I am a nerdy news channel. I do nerdy news every day, not always about movies or Netflix, sometimes about anime, video games, comics, Magic the Gathering, you name it. It's all here in the nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.